Well, it's been a while, guys, that I have not posted, and I'm sure most of you that are watching are probably new here. But if you are coming back to my channel, you may have noticed that I stopped posting readings since quite a while ago, and I have not posted as frequently anymore. And basically, my life has shifted into something that I never imagined that it would become. And for those of you who are new, basically my channel has always been all about the new age. Basically, that is what they call it. It's oracle card readings, it's singing songs that I was hoping would inspire people and uplift people and encourage people, that I believe were messages from the divine through the readings. And of course, when I sing, I try to sing from the bottom of my heart. That would hopefully, it would bring healing to myself and to others. And over the past maybe few months, I had started to question everything about what I was doing and asking God for a sign of clarity. And it basically showed me my path, that it is not meant to be receiving messages and providing messages through oracle cards, because I believed that I was speaking to the divine, and in reality now I don't believe that that is true. And this is basically my testimony from going from the new age into, I guess you could say, Christianity, in believing in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. And I still can't believe that I'm saying that. It just even makes me emotional realizing this big shift in my life. And I know a lot of people might not understand, especially the followers that I've had on here. And if you are new, you can even check back on my previous videos, that like what I used to believe in and share. And I'll probably be taking down most of those. I just need to see what the terms and conditions are on YouTube to take down some things, and still keep my channel active and being able to share it with people. But yes, so basically I can start with my story from when I was a child. This is going to take a while, so please grab your hot coffee, your iced coffee. And I do have some notes because there are many points I need to touch upon, but I will edit those out. But basically I can say that ever since I was little, I grew up Catholic with my family. So I got baptized when I was a baby. And then once I was older, when I was about 10 years old, I started going to church for weekly Bible study, I guess you could say, where they teach you different prayers. And you have to learn these prayers so that you can do your first communion. And I just remember that in this time, I actually had really bad OCD, and most people in my life probably do not know that. And I didn't know what it was until I was watching TV and I saw an episode of True Life. If any of you guys remember that from back in the day. I'm 31, so I was 12 in that time. So you guys, I don't know, depending on your age, you might have seen this show. And it talked about different things that people go through in life, difficulties, challenges. And I remember there was an episode of people who struggle with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. And that's when it clicked for me. I was like, I can't believe there's people who suffer with the same thing as I do. because I didn't know I didn't know that other people struggled with the same thing that I was going through. But basically for me, because it's so different for everyone, but for me, I just had intrusive thoughts ever since I can remember. But I guess when it was worse, it was like when I was 8, 9, 10, when I was trying to do my first communion. And I remember I would have intrusive thoughts of, if I don't do something horrible was going to happen to my loved ones. Now that I reflect on it, obviously that was not coming from me. It was probably negative energies that were around me, negative spirits. And it was the smallest things that I had to do, the silliest things, like if I don't lift this cup right now, or if I don't put it here or there, like something bad is going to happen. And basically when I was going to church, instead of feeling more peace because of these thoughts, actually it just got much worse. Like I felt, now that I knew some prayers that I was taught, I felt like I needed to pray every single prayer I knew, which was about, they told us we had to memorize in order to do our first communion. We had to memorize like 1, 2, 3, like at least these 3 prayers that I remember, and repeat them like 3 times each. And so before going to bed every night, I would tell myself, I need to say every word nice and clearly in my head from each of these prayers, and 3 times, say the prayer 3 times each, in order for my family to be okay, in order for nothing to happen. And so it just got so bad for me that it gave me so much anxiety that I felt like I needed to control everything. And then eventually I got to a point that I was like, I just need to, once I did my first communion, I was like, I'm not going to let these, I guess I was a little bit older where I was like, I'm done with these intrusive thoughts. Like, I'm just going to ignore them completely, hope that nothing happens to anyone. And if nothing happens, like there, I know that it's just thoughts that won't even like become a reality, but it's just like a mental disorder or something. So I ignored the thoughts, and I also said I'm going to stop praying completely because that's just causing me more anxiety. Yes, so I can say that that was like the end of me praying, and also my intrusive thoughts, because I just completely ignored them and shut them out. But I also shut out, maybe what could have been protecting me for the years to come. And I had my own struggles as a child, and difficulties that I had to face, just like probably most of us, with family, our own personal issues. And once I was older, once I was a teenager, I was going through a really difficult time, and I don't want to get into details because that's something very personal in my own life. But I remember one time I was like, I can't take this anymore. I can't take this suffering on a daily basis. And I walked to this one park, and I had been to this park many, many times before with one of my friends, and I had never gone by myself. But this day I was like, I was still a child. I was a little scared to walk off on my own. But I was like, I just need to get away from everything. And when I got to that lake, there was a lake there at the park. I sat there in front of the lake. And like I said, I had been to this park many times before, but it was like I was seeing it with brand new eyes. So that lake that I had seen so many times before had this beautiful glow to it. Like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like everything looked like it was glowing in yellow light. The ducks, the lake. I saw a little boy there with like right now I can't remember if he was a young man. Like for me, I was little, so maybe it was his grandpa or his dad, but he was there taking care of him, and I felt so much love, like between everything that I was feeling of crying and desperation. Like I don't know where that peace came from, that everything I was looking at just felt like pure love, the love of that family, that dad with his son, and the love around me. Like I don't even know where that peace came from. And that was like the first time that within myself I felt like, there's so much more. Like there's something that's guiding us and loving us. Like God exists. And that wasn't the end of it. Like that was just the beginning of everything. From there, we shortly moved to another home, and that's when I started maturing and getting older. And I started going to the library, and I started reading like self-help books, but they're like spiritual books that are basically new age. In a way, I would say now that it's a little bit coming from a place of ego, like it's all about oneself and that you're your own God and you're so powerful, and it all sounds beautiful when you see it in that mindset. But now I can see it in a different light. But in that time, I was like, it felt right to, it felt like I was taking care of myself. And, but as I grew older and I got into a relationship, and, I was in a really dark place. We did live together for like 5 years, and now that I'm older, I knew he just wasn't the one, and I was never in love. And now that I'm wiser, like I know what I want in my life, and I'm happily married to the love of my life. But in that time, I was just blinded. I didn't know what I was doing. But I was just in this dark place. Like I just was not happy. And one time in one of my darkest moments, I had the deepest dream. In my dream, I was at my parents' house. My mom was there in the living room. And I told her like I was feeling a little bit anxious, that I needed to go downstairs and meditate. By this point, I had gotten into a little bit of meditation, that they had told me that it calms your mind and everything. So I was like, that's what I need to do. So I went downstairs. This is like a basement that my parents have, kind of like a basement, but it looks like a living room. I went downstairs. It was not the living room that it is in real life. It was now this big, beautiful white room full of light coming through the windows. All of the wall on the right and the wall on the left were just big glass windows. It was just glass that you could look outside, and the sun was shining through, and outside it was like just green grass, like a garden, green grass and trees around. And I was like, wow, like this is so beautiful. Like, where did this come from? And something told me like, walk outside. And I felt someone next to me. Once after this dream, I was like, that must have been my guardian angel. I don't know who that was, but someone taking care of me. That person told me like, I just felt like I needed to go outside. Like, you need to go outside. I went outside. Everything was glowing. Everything was beautiful. The trees, the grass was vibrant green, even more than how you see it in this real life, right? Like when you're awake. And all of a sudden I look to the sky, and there's like sun rays coming out of the clouds, the rays pouring down onto the grass. And it wasn't just the sun like on a typical day when you're awake. I felt like that sun was God. Like, without telling me anything, that sun told me, you are loved, you are deeply loved, and you are going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay. So I just felt that deep love that I started crying. I dropped myself to the floor. Now I understand why people drop themselves to their knees to pray. I dropped myself to the floor and it was just like face flat down, my tummy down, everything, just lying on the grass, like crying because I felt God's love. And I just remember I was crying and crying and crying until I fell asleep in my dream. And I woke up in my dream again. And I was now not there anymore in that beautiful divine place. I was like on the side of the road somewhere close to my house. And I like flew back home and went back upstairs and acted like nothing happened. So when I woke up from that dream, I was like, wow, that dream did not come from me because I was in the darkest place in my mind. And from there on, I was like, I need to change things in my life. Like I got the inspiration to try to pull myself out of this depression. I started signing up for meditation classes. It was a little bit of like light yoga, and I felt really connected to the teacher there. So I would go, like I went for the entire year. And that's when I got the idea, why don't I go to India to do a yoga teacher training course, right? Just for my own spiritual growth, honestly, because I felt like the meditation was really helping. I felt more peace in my life. I felt more love for myself. And that's when I started seeing the love for others, feeling that love. So I went to India, and I had always wanted to go to India to travel, and somehow I felt a connection to India. So I told myself I am going to travel there and do a training, and I did basically. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was going to heal me, that it was going to change my life for the better. I started learning mantras, which are repetitive songs, and they say words from like Sanskrit. And I believed in that time that they were high vibrational words that were going to help me bring more peace into my life. So then I started sharing it with people once I came back home. But when I was in India, when I look back on it, like there were little things that I saw that I didn't feel were very sincere from our teachers, from the people practicing yoga in their daily lives, that I felt like maybe, it doesn't bring so much peace to people in the long run from the things that I saw, like just some teachers not being very sincere, just being in it for the money, or being with the students sexually. And but I was like, everyone's on their own path, and this is what is helping me right now. So then once I got back from India, I did start teaching yoga for a bit. It was mostly meditation. Sometimes I would have a yoga class, but it was mostly meditation at the center where I was previously attending classes with my teacher. Yeah, something about it caused me a little bit of anxiety. Like, I just felt like maybe I wasn't meant to be teaching meditation classes. So eventually I stopped teaching after, I guess, a couple months. And I just continued my own practice here and there, meditating, because I felt like it helped from previous panic attacks that I had, very bad anxiety. I also would attend Vipassana meditation retreats, I guess you could call them, where you practice the teachings of the Buddha of how you should meditate, and that this meditation would help end suffering with continuous practice. Like that is the goal, to end suffering, right? And when you're there, you reflect on the suffering that is happening around you in the world. you give it your all these 10 days. You don't talk to anyone. You meditate for 10 hours a day. You have little breaks in between throughout the day. But it's a deep meditation for 10 days straight. And you don't have a phone. You shouldn't have any books or things that can distract you from your meditations. And I feel like that actually opened myself up more to the spiritual realm. And I thought this was for the better, right? I got back home and I could feel like a high frequency running through my body one morning. And I just felt like, maybe I was getting closer to understanding the divine, of communicating better with, my spirit guides that I started to believe in. And this is maybe a story for another day, but my spirit guides that I felt were by my side guiding me. And this was based off what someone told me in India, that they could see my spirit guides. So I was like, I think someone gifted me oracle cards, my first deck. And I was like, okay, this is what I need to be doing right now. Like, now I believe in my angels. I'm going to start reading oracle cards. And I, not only for myself, but I want to start posting on YouTube. And this is something that I had liked to do since before, that I would post about other things. So I was like, I'm going to create my channel reading oracle cards and trying to help others through the messages, asking our spirit guides, right? My spirit guides and the spirit guides of those that I was reading cards for. I was hoping that it would provide the best messages for people listening. So I would post about all the horoscope signs and a message for each of them each month. And that actually started going great. It started growing specifically around the pandemic. I started, since I was posting more frequently, my channel was growing. My channel got monetized, and it started growing to like 6,000 views. If you look at my channel, like the one with the most views is like 6,000 something. But, I was excited because I felt like it was true and that it was helping people. And I would post, like I was saying, mantra singing songs that I felt were of high energy. But then I don't know, like I feel like it started actually attracting negative things into my life. Even though you pray that only your spirit guides provide messages and guide you, and for you to be protected from any negative spirits, you don't even realize what you're opening the door to, which is now what I'm realizing. I would pray that I was protected from any negative energies before and after, and cleansing my cards and everything. And they would provide good messages. So I believe them to be true. But now I learned that, like they say, the devil provides 9 truths and 1 lie. So, if you knew it was bad spirits coming through that are connecting to you, you would not be doing whatever you're doing in any circumstance, whether this is through alcohol, through cards, through anything, right? You don't see it as a bad thing. Negative spirits want to come through as a positive light, right? But keep you away from Jesus, that keep you away from God when you think it is God, right? So yes, basically the messages I was providing was about ourselves, finding that power within ourselves to go for our dreams. And it all sounds like positive messages. But then, like I said, I was starting to attract negative energies even in my own life in people. Like I had a boyfriend. Oh, I never mentioned that. We separated, me and the boyfriend I had that we were living together. We separated when I got back from India, we separated, and then I went back, and that's when I did the Vipassana. But now with the whole oracle card readings in that time in my life, I started dating someone and he ended up being like a psychopath, basically. He was very, how can I say it? He would basically try to be, when we first met, try to be the person of my dreams that I was looking for, even lying about who he was just to tailor it to be my ideal person so that I would fall for him. And I did. And then I found out about all the lies about who he truly was. And it was just shocking. But, you know, I feel now that I attracted that negative energy into my life. And during that time when we were dating, I kind of forgot about everything. Like my cards, I was just like, I kind of let my channel die a bit because I was like, I don't know. That relationship sucked the energy out of me, the inspiration out of me. And I just slowly stopped posting. My channel kind of went dead a little bit. So I started losing the motivation to post any videos. I went down, I guess you could say, a darker path where I started drinking alcohol. And I never really drank since one time that I started drinking when I was 21 and had a bad experience, and I didn't drink for years. And with him, I started drinking alcohol, going out to party all the time. And he had this crazy mindset, and I tried to be open-minded about it. But then I realized that wasn't doing me any good. But I feel like I attracted this kind of person into my life because of the path that I was on, which I thought was okay in that time. And so we were on and off for about 2 years. And during this time, if I haven't mentioned already, during this time, I moved in with a couple. So I moved in with a retired couple into their home, rented a room there. I could use the kitchen, the living room, and they would travel all the time, and I would take care of their 2 dogs. And they were the sweetest people. They are the sweetest people. They've been so good to me. And something very strange happened there. So I knew that, that portal to the spiritual world was quite open to me, even though it shouldn't be, and I shouldn't have ever opened that for myself. And I thought it was normal. I thought it was just confirmation that there is something so much bigger than ourselves, that there's life beyond this lifetime. And every once in a while there, I would read my own cards just for myself in my room. But I felt this weird energy in the home. When they would travel, they would ask me to stay in their bedroom with their pups because that's where they're used to sleeping. But I felt this weird energy, like there was just always someone there watching me. Like I had this weird feeling. And early on, they had told me that unfortunately their son had passed away a couple years ago. I did not know how or what happened. But yeah, when they were at home, I could feel this weird presence. And I was like, is it him? Because he knows I'm here in their space. And weird things started happening. Like one night that I told my cousin about this situation, like where I would feel weird at the house. Like when I got home that night, the light started flickering on and off. The light went completely out after having spoke about that. And from there, one night I was sleeping in their bed when they were traveling, and I woke up and from like a deep sleep, I guess, like an hour later, and something told me, like, look towards the door. And it was dark in my room and everything. I looked towards the door, and there's this big black shadow And you know, when it's nighttime, you're like, what is that? Is that like just the reflection of a furniture or something? I look and it's like this big black smoke shadow in like the corner, which it's where the door was. And I'm like, am I seeing this correctly? I sit up. I was wide awake. I sit up and look at that big black shadow. Guys, I wear contacts, so I can't see without my contacts. But this was clear as day. Once I looked at that shadow, it wasn't, I'm even scared to talk about this, but it wasn't a shadow anymore. It was a young man standing there at the front, in front of the door. And he was like, I could see him clearly, like he had a glow to him as well. Like I could see him nice and clear, even though it was dark. And it all happened so fast that I sat up and I saw him, and I thought it was someone who had broken into the house. And I started screaming at him. I said, "What are you doing here? Get out, get out." I stood up as fast as I could from the bed, and I turned on the light, and he was gone. I thought maybe, since I didn't hear anyone open the door or anything to run out, I thought he went into the walk-in closet they had. No one was there. No one was in the bathroom, in the room. And that's when it clicked for me that it was a spirit. And I felt right away that it was their son that had passed, that I had been feeling an energy there in the home for forever. And now that I look back on it, they say that sometimes when you think that it is someone who has passed on, whether you receive a message from a psychic about that person or you see them, that it's really not them, that it's let's just say a negative spirit showing up. I'm not sure what that was, but from there on, I didn't see him anymore. I didn't feel him as much anymore. And in that time, I thought, oh, I feel bad that I spoke to him in that way. But it was probably good that I screamed at him if it was a negative energy that was there, like, because I never felt him again. But just like I'm saying, I feel like I opened up these bad portals in my life and I didn't realize how. And in that time, it was just confirmation for me of the spirit world, that there's so much more than this. And I didn't realize that there are such bad spirits out there, like, since I was just trying to attract positive light through my readings, through my thoughts, through my meditations. But if you're in this, you don't realize what these bad energies are doing, right? What the devil is doing, what he disguises himself as. He disguises himself as a good spirit, a being of light, someone who is there to guide you, take care of you, as long as you don't get close to Jesus Christ, the truth. And besides this about feeling spirits, seeing spirits, I also struggled with a lot of anxiety, a lot of social anxiety, a lot of panic attacks, like I said before. And these led me to the hospital as well. Maybe I'll make a separate video about that. But I would take CBD, right? CBD oil or CBD supplements that basically come from weed. But it's legal because here where I live, in the state that I live in, supposedly they extract the part that doesn't make you high, right, into a supplement or into oil, and that it can really help for like bone pain if you're suffering through some type of physical illness, or they also say it can help with anxiety. So, well, let's just say I had a couple of bad experiences that I think they actually did have THC, the part that makes you high, and I got very sick. So please be careful with that, guys. Never get into that. And also, now that I know, weed leads you down a dark path as well, with bad spirits, allowing them to enter into your life. So We really have to be careful what we allow in, what we invite. So to get to the point, when I hit 30, I started asking myself, like, I started asking God, because I do believe in God, that there is a higher power. I just can't describe what God is. Like, he's bigger than anything you can imagine. That's what I always felt. And with Jesus Christ, I felt that he was an amazing spiritual teacher who came here to help spread love and to help others when he was here, to be an example for us of how we can be. And I also thought that about other spiritual teachers, right, of other religions, that they came to help us as well, or even activists that came here. But I didn't realize how big Jesus Christ truly is, and that he is God. He was just incarnated here in flesh to help us. And just like he did miracles when he was here, he also does miracles in spirit while we're here now, for all of us. Like, how can he help so many people? And believe it or not, he is still here. He is still present. But I didn't come to this conclusion until when I hit 30. I started asking myself, like, what is my purpose? I still want to keep posting videos, but I just didn't know if the cards, like what I was doing was the right way. And the songs that I was doing, which it was all for the purpose of helping others, helping myself, but something felt off. So I still didn't post enough the past year. Now I'm 31. I just turned 31 a little over a month ago. And again, I asked God, I thought was just the universe, like, what is my path? I need clarity. Should I keep posting videos, doing readings? Should I just sing songs, medicine music that there is out there, singing about nature? Because I've always felt a connection with that. But something was telling me maybe the cards aren't so true. I would ask myself if that is the truth. And I soon want to have a family of my own children. What do I want them to see that I do as a parent? What kind of example do I want to give? And when I turned 31, I went out to eat with my husband, and I saw the sun rays through the clouds as we were driving there. I was in the passenger seat, and I thought about that dream that I had about when I was feeling depressed, that the sun rays came through the clouds, and that I dropped myself, and I felt God saying everything was going to be okay. So I told my husband about this one song that I really love about Jesus that my parents shared with me, that my mom loved, and I sent the song to my parents in our group chat. They already know the song, obviously, but I just wanted to send it to them again to listen to it, because it makes you want to cry, like the feeling, the way he's singing about Jesus. And that day, we just went out to eat. It was a great day with my husband once he got home from work. And that day I had actually called a psychic. I was like, earlier in the day before that, I was like, what if I go to a psychic to start off my year on the right foot, get the messages I need to get? I called a psychic that had good reviews close by to this new city that I live in. And she seemed quite rude. She was like, who is this? And I'm like, I just still ask like how much she charges. It was like 100 something for a reading. But I was like, someone like that really receiving divine messages? And I don't know who she is as a person, but that energy just felt so negative. So I was like, no, maybe that's not what I need to be doing. But again, I was asking for clarity about my life purpose. Like, I know I've always loved to sing. I know that I've always felt a connection spiritually to the divine, but what is the truth, and what can I share with people to help myself and to share with others? Just a few days later, coincidentally, it was Friday the 13th, and I was sleeping. Once I woke up in the early morning, I was starting to wake up. All I could hear was this word that I really don't like, okay? Let's just say I'm scared to even say it in my home, but let's just say it's that game that you should never play. If you have questions, feel free to connect with me and I can tell you, but it's the game that you should never play. It's basically to connect with dead spirits. Well, people who are no longer here. Bad spirits. There's a lot of scary stories about playing this game, so you should never play with it. But it just kept repeating in my head over and over and over again when I was waking up, and I really don't like to hear that word, to ever say it. So I'm like, why is this word in my head repetitively? And also, besides that, I was seeing, like, even though I was already awake, my eyes were closed, I was seeing like the devil with like, and I didn't know this was the devil before, but I had looked it up, and with horns and like the body of an animal, like, I don't know if it's I think it's a goat. But by this point, sometimes when I would have bad dreams, I would start praying. Like, Jesus was already calling me since before, like, to start praying, the prayer that I did remember, but like from when I was little, and to ask for protection, right? So to this day, I start praying that prayer when I start hearing that word, and I start praying that prayer. And this prayer is to Jesus Christ, right? And in that moment, I was like, something told me, why don't you just pray to Jesus Christ? Those cards, in that moment, it was clarity that game is the same as those cards. Those cards are the same as that game. You don't know who you're connecting to, even though you pray that it's a higher power that's taking care of you and guiding you. It disguises itself as good energy, as loving light. But it's not the light of Jesus Christ. And that morning, that's when I got clarity. In that state of hearing that word repetitively, something told me, you have to just follow Jesus Christ. You don't need any of it. You don't need cards to guide you. You don't need any of it. That just gave me clarity that it's the same thing as those games that you shouldn't be playing. And long ago, I felt scared of even though thinking of those cards. Like, how when you go to Barnes and Nobles and they have the spiritual section with the tarot cards, with the oracle cards, I was always scared of that. But how did I get to a point of not being afraid anymore? Because I thought I understood it, and it wasn't as bad as people made it seem. I thought it was nothing but good light, if that's what you are thinking about, if that's what you are hoping for. But no, like I said, it disguises itself. So on this day, I know it didn't come from me that I need to follow Jesus Christ, because I thought so differently before, like I said. So this day I get up and I'm like, yeah, that's all I need. Jesus Christ. He's protected me from my bad dreams, from like, it connected with me, like the dreams I've had since before. Like, Jesus Christ was calling me towards him, and I went down a different path. But I am so thankful. I'm so thankful that Jesus Christ reached me, that he reached out to me so that I can get closer to him, besides all of that energy that was probably surrounding me of evil. And so from there, I started listening to testimonies and what people go through going from the New Age, how they went from the New Age to Jesus. And coincidentally, when I started believing in Jesus, truly believing, I started having really bad vertigo. It probably was something physical that was happening, but I feel like it manifested from those energies trying to attack and keep me hostage, not letting me get close to Jesus Christ. And I come to realize that that's called spiritual warfare, where the bad spirits do not want you to get close to Jesus. They will do anything in their power to keep you there with them under their control. Okay. And like, we don't even realize this, and that's how they get us even when we pass on. I used to not even believe in hell. Once I developed my own spirituality, I thought it was just a state of consciousness if you're in a low vibration, but it's real. There are energies that will take control of us. We have no power but to ask for forgiveness and ask for help from Jesus Christ, from God, because there are other powers that want to take control. So yes, I started to develop all of these symptoms of really bad vertigo. I woke up one morning like a week later after having that realization, and I was so dizzy, so dizzy. This lasted for a whole week. I had to cancel like my exercise classes. I take Pilates, so I had to cancel some because I just couldn't even get up and not feel dizzy, and Pilates is about a lot of movement. And on one day, it got so bad. I was so nauseous that I was like, I need to get up, get things done, like I want to make sure my house looks nice. I start cooking before my husband comes home. Luckily, I was off for the summer from teaching because that's what I do. So I had some time to rest. But once it hit like 4:00, I was like, I need to... Like I kept getting up all day, going back to bed because I just did not feel well. I did not want to eat. And at 4, I was like, I need to get up and do something, get this moving, even if I'm dizzy. So I got up. I let the nausea hit me. I had to throw up. I threw up. And I felt a lot better once I did. And I was able to carry on with my day. And now that I look back on it, that when people, I think it's called deliverance, when you repent, when you want to let go of those bad energies that you realize that are holding on to you and that you want to get close to Jesus, like those come out, right? Those have to come out, and those can come out through bad symptoms of even to the point of vomiting like I was. But from there, I started feeling a lot better. And I can tell you that was like a little over a month ago now, like a month and a half. And I still have symptoms, guys. And it's a process, like it's not just now I believe in Jesus Christ and I'm at peace now. No, like that is something that you have to really believe in Jesus to not let that suck you back in your old negative ways of thinking, right? And to trust that through prayer, that all of that is going to go away, whatever is attached to you. Throughout this spiritual warfare, I've been having really bad dreams. I bought a Bible because I want to get closer to God. I want to learn more. And now I know that the Bible is the truth. Like it just connected for me. And I used to think, and a lot of people do think when I was in the New Age, that the Bible was so like, we are so ahead of that. Like that is so from back in the day. And now we have advanced and people don't think like that anymore. And people in the New Age, you tend to think that it's like ignorance of what they teach in the church, but it's not. Like there is a new way of thinking about it, a new way of how I saw it when I was a little kid or how I saw it when I was in the New Age. Like you think that it's like your ego is so elevated that you think you are in control of your own life. Why follow this person? Why follow this person just like a person that is just like us, but they don't realize how big Jesus Christ is, how he came to save us, and how he can still save us. I'm just amazed how my mind has shifted, and so if you are in the new age, I hope Jesus Christ, really helps you on your path. And I know he is. And don't be surprised if one day the same thing happens to you, this mind shift. And I feel like a lot of people are coming closer and closer to Jesus Christ. I don't know what's happening in the planet right now with all the violence and that's happening among human beings, to our planet with global warming, everything that's happening. I feel like something big is going to happen or is happening, that is why Jesus Christ is truly trying to connect with us before anything drastic happens, honestly. So yes, guys, I feel like God answered my prayers about my path, about my journey of what I want to do in my life. I've always known I want to sing, but I'm like, why haven't I done anything with that besides what I started doing when I came back from India, singing spiritual songs of mantras that I thought were high vibrational, of reading cards. And now I have clarity. I want to share that music with people, but through Jesus, through truly singing to God. I want to share messages of inspiration, but maybe through the Bible and through what I've experienced and what the Bible says, of what Jesus said, what he came to share with people, and what I feel like he wants me to share with others. So I know a lot of people might leave from my channel that I had, but I know that the right people will find these videos. And I feel like a lot of people, maybe they're still stuck in, we're all on our own path, they might still be in the new age, but I hope, or in something else, right? But I hope that this at least makes them feel a little bit of faith, that this plants just at least a tiny seed in someone, a message that they might remember when they're doing something, walking on their path. That's all I can really say. I just wanted to share my testimony of how my life is transforming. And yeah, I wanted to say I got rid of everything. If you look back on my videos, I got rid of all my cards. I got rid of my crystals. That actually was just today, because I was debating whether I should burn them, throw them away, but I just threw them away, guys, and I'm so thankful that I did. So yes, thank you so much. Please stay tuned for my videos. I really want to post songs for Jesus, songs that I already have recorded, one that I want to upload, but I'm working on it. So thank you so much, guys. I'm sending you all a big hug and lots of love.